Hey everybody, this is Adam. Before we dive into this episode, I just want to take a second to thank you on behalf of myself and Isaac for all the support, kind words, and everything you guys have done for STAGR Cast and helping us grow it to what it is today. Without you guys, it would be nothing, so we're going to keep continuing to try to bring you the best content we possibly can. Also, for this episode, it was recorded outside at HuntStock Fest, so you might hear some people shuffling around, music in the background, people talking. Nothing too crazy, though. Also, this is a two-part episode, so the first part of this episode was recorded on stage in front of a live audience, and the second part is a listener part, where a listener, John, he sits down with us, gives us a couple great buck stories that you're not going to want to miss. So once again, thank you for all the support, and we'll dive into the episode.
You're listening to STAGR Cast, brought to you by STAGR Gear.
But this is the first episode. We'll be live at STAGR Cast.
Yep.
We got, I think, 45 minutes now. But it's been a good event so far. You guys just got here this morning, right?
Yep, we just got here this morning.
Yeah, it's a good setup for sure.
Left at 5.
Yep.
Up to 5?
Yeah, bright and early.
Yeah. Nice. You want to start us right off with that, your deer hunt story out of Master? Because what
Sure.
would that buck score that you got?
I haven't even got it started.
Oh, you never got it scored?
Probably like mid 130s.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Good
What was
one.
the story on that?
Oh, Gilly.
I don't know. It was the last day of muzzleloader in Mass.
Yep. Yeah. Do you want to go through the whole thing, or do you want me to kind of go
We
through
just
it?
go through it together. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we were headed down to an area that I've hunted a few times in Massachusetts, and it's a pretty good ridge system. And it was the last day we were going to be able to hunt. I think it was
day after.
No, it was the day
after
after Christmas.
Christmas,
Yeah. So it was the day after Christmas, and we had some fresh snow, like from that
Yeah,
night.
it was unexpected
Like
too.
probably unexpected fresh snow, like
Yeah.
2 inches. And we got to the spot. It was my father-in-law, my father, Gilly, and myself. And we all kind of just took off like a bunch of banshees because we were all excited. So Gilly and I were just running right up the ridge, basically.
We tried crossing that river.
Yeah, we
You-
crossed a big river, and I headed up on the ridge. Gilly continued and swung up around where I was headed. So right as I crested the first big flat, I caught a big buck track. And the buck track was headed right towards where Gilly was headed.
Right, and you were on the other side of the mountain.
Right, I was on the
Yeah.
other side of the mountain, but he was headed right towards where Gilly was going. So the first thing I did was I stopped and I called Wyatt, and I was like, dude, there's a big buck track, smoking fresh, headed right at you.
Yeah.
Like, just look alive, He's like, all right, I was headed for the top, but I'll hang here for a minute. So I no more than hang up the phone, put my phone in my pocket, and I hear boom. I'm like, you son of a gun, because I was going to follow him.
Yeah.
I was definitely a good buck. So he calls me. He's like, oh, I just hit a big one, I'm like, oh, my gosh. So tell him what happened after, like, from where I called you.
As soon as you called me, I stopped right there. I didn't even make it 3 steps. I was like, all right. But it was just as I crested a flat. And there's a down tree just below me, and I heard something coming up through, but I didn't know if it was like a squirrel or something. I was like, what are the odds,
Yeah.
And sure shit, it came up, it stopped, and then didn't do anything. So I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it took off at a slow trot downwards of me.
Yeah.
And I saw its rack. I tried getting it to stop, it wouldn't stop, and eventually it stopped. And it was just a little opening shot, and it was almost facing straight away from me.
Yeah.
But it turned just enough where I could squeeze a shot in behind there, and I did, and it hunched up and ran down the hill. And then it bedded right down after that.
How many times did you guys shoot that thing? I remember there was some shooting going on.
We shot a lot at
There
it.
was some shooting going on.
I hit
in
it
that
twice.
video.
Wild goose chase.
Yeah.
After that.
It was like 3 or 4 miles we chased that thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that far?
Oh, it was bad.
That far
yeah,
bleeding?
it was
I ended up just hitting it right behind the shoulder, and it went right up into his neck.
quartering
Oh,
away.
okay.
It went right into his neck. And
Yeah.
So did it break the shoulder, or just kind of
it broke his shoulder.
the shoulder and went up?
It went right in, the bullet was in his neck.
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
So the buck was definitely not feeling.
He was not feeling good.
He was
It
not
kept trying-
feeling good.
It bedded down,
But-
5 times?
Yeah, but he still had his heart, and he still had his lungs, and everything else.
Yeah.
So he was still very motivated to live.
Yeah.
Obviously, and after that initial shot, we went on the track for a little ways, bedded down, we kicked him up, took off, and that's where Gilly and I kind of put our heads together, and we're like, let's wait a little bit, and we'll go on him again and see what he does.
Right.
And so we waited like a half an hour, and same thing, couple 100 yards, bedded down, kicked him back up again. We saw a piece of him that time, but we couldn't get a shot.
No,
So-
I did shoot it. I shot.
You shot at him
I'm
again.
running away,
So
yeah.
after that one is when I kind of decided.
And I didn't even have time to load my gun.
No, well, that was a little later. I was talking about when we decided
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah,
we're going to
yep.
push this deer.
Yes.
We're not going to let him keep bedding down because he was letting us get so close. I
Yeah.
was like, we need to.
Just
Sometimes you need to push them.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's kind of. I think a lot of people sometimes think, just back out. Well, sometimes they can get their crap together
Oh yeah, they can get
and
going.
live.
Yeah.
And
Right, you
that's
gotta chase them down.
so that's what we did. We went really hard on the deer and really pushed him. And the last time that we jumped him, the buck headed down the hill. Gilly was reloading his gun, so I cut out to the right. And I was like, who knows? Maybe he'll swing up around. And I ended up catching him, cutting a loop on us, and I ended up shooting him.
I told him, I was like, just shoot.
Yeah.
My gun's not even loaded. It's like,
And
now's your chance.
You see that shot in your video, right? Was that the
No,
one you saw, or was that a different one?
my batteries actually died.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
batteries actually
Yeah.
died. So
And
but-
that was the end of that
That
one?
was the end of that.
That was the end
I
of
just
him,
told
yeah,
to
we
shoot.
killed
I was like, by the time I reload this muzzleloader.
we got
Yeah,
really
yeah.
lucky, actually.
Was
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
do you guys have Woodmans then, or was that
No.
pre-Woodman days?
I mean, I think
I had a CVA Wolf.
Yeah.
I had like $150
Yeah,
like
$150
Old black
muzzleloader,
one, the old
like-
black one.
Yeah.
yeah, it was an old black one. It used to scope me all the time, and it did that.
It did.
That
You can
shot.
see him in some
Oh,
of
you
the
know,
pictures.
keep
I was
video.
leaking. Yeah.
No peep sight then?
No scope.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did that deer weigh too? That was that
That
was
was 150 right on the dot.
150.
Was he? That's
Yeah.
a lot. It seems like a lot of those mass bucks are. In
Yeah,
that.
They
I
are.
don't think they get very.
You're
Yeah.
great.
And their tracks are small too.
Yeah, just a different
Yeah.
breed of deer.
And we're shooting these deer in the end of December usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that
You
was
know.
December 26th.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't- yeah. Go ahead. You're saying?
I don't even
December
know what I was
26th?
saying.
Yeah, no.
it was late, so they're all rutted out, and that it's a really good time to hunt those deer because they're trying to put feed back on after the rut,
Yeah.
right.
and and actually I've seen a lot of rut behavior that time of year too.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah,
the rut's
second
still going
rut,
on.
Late
yeah.
rut.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that big one you got this year,
Yeah.
that was 160 inch. That was that December 20. Is that the day after Christmas? When was that?
It was
Christmas
right, like,
Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Yep,
Yeah.
So
December
it was
24th.
2 days before.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he was with those.
he was chasing him,
he
right?
was, yeah,
He
chasing-
split
yeah.
off. I
Yeah.
think you said it right.
Yep,
And
and
then
I
he
grunted him back. Yeah.
grounded him back. That's
Yeah, the one I
crazy.
shot was just cruising.
Yeah, he was headed
He
up
just
to the
headed,
top.
he was headed
yeah.
up to the top, and that's where I was heading.
Yep.
Yeah. You just happened to catch him on a flat.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And who knows if you would have even seen him if I didn't call
If
you.
you didn't call me,
He was
Yeah.
headed.
that's what's nice about
Yeah.
team hunting sometimes.
So you literally called him, and then
It was a matter of like
5
minutes,
seconds later, he
minutes.
comes rolling up over the hill.
And we were like 3 miles away from each other. Like,
yeah.
It's meant to be. It's meant
Yeah.
to be, though.
Well, when
Yeah.
I first cut the track, I was like, because I was, selfishly a little bit, I was like, oh, hopefully he's going down in here. I'm gonna shoot him.
Yeah.
But it's like, I looked to see where the buck's headed, and
He asked me where I was heading.
I'm like,
I went
Gilly,
to the
where are
top.
you going? He's like, oh, I'm going up around this point right here. I'm like, well, there's a big buck headed there too, But
Jeez.
and
that's
I knew
crazy.
the points might connect too because he hadn't cut the track yet.
Okay.
You know,
you
so
were ahead
I was
then.
a ways
Yeah.
up in there.
Yeah. Yeah. How far were you? So you guys were how close? You said.
He was on the other side of the mountain. And I was
Yeah,
So
on
that
this
deer
side.
went from where you were bouncing
All the way straight
up
to
and
me.
over. Those things can move, man.
Yeah, he
Well-
kind of went up the ridge and kind of like rounded the mountain.
The track
towards
could have
me.
been a little old when I cut it too.
Okay.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? It could have been like an hour or two old.
Yeah.
But it was definitely fresh from that night. But
Yep. Cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
a fun one.
After I shot, he followed the tracks right to where I
Really?
was. Yeah.
100% that buck.
Oh yeah.
Oh
No
yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Jeez. That's crazy. You haven't got your buck back yet from this past year, right?
No, I have not.
That was what, 163 incher on that.
Yeah, 162 and 5/8.
You wanna hit that story for those? You wanna
Sure.
quick
Yeah.
run down on that one real quick?
Yeah. So
Have you guys seen his 160 inch buck? That's a
Here,
crazy
yeah.
one. That's
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
Did you know the area, or was it something you just kind of looked on the map?
Just threw
Threw a dart.
a dart at the map.
Yeah.
That's what we do it a lot. And the question was, because they won't be
Yeah.
able to hear in the podcast, if we had known the area or known of the area before we went there when I shot my buck.
Yeah.
And yeah, the answer is no. We do that a lot. We actually have a lot of really good luck doing that. Just because you have no like preconceived notions of deer
Right.
behavior in an area, because
You
I mean-
always get stuck on that one spot.
yeah, I
you know?
mean, well, you'll get stuck on it. You'll see a big buck in one area on the old farm that you've hunted your whole life, and then for the rest of your life, you're going to go through that area the same way you did when you saw that big buck, because in your mind, and it's human nature. I do the same thing when I'm in areas that I've killed deer. I'll go back to that same ridge or whatever. And the truth is, the big bucks are just random. They're doing whatever,
Especially during the rut.
especially they're following their nose most of the time.
Yeah.
So it's
And they get big for a reason.
They
too.
get big for a
It's one
reason.
thing during
Yeah.
the summer, you know.
Yeah.
But during rut, they're kind of doing their
Yeah.
own thing.
A lot. Yeah, I got a lot of game cam pictures and videos, and one guy had 4 years of pictures of the deer, and I mean I felt bad in a way, but in another way I didn't, because it's like, you know,
You're on
it's
state land.
It's state land. It's anybody's deer, you know, but
Yeah.
you know, we bought tags and we're doing, you know, the thing. And honestly, that was only the second day we had hunted Mass. That, you know, usually we only get 1 or 2 days in Massachusetts, the way our schedule works out. And it's been worth it the last few years. I mean,
Right, that's usually the ending to our
that
year.
yeah,
in
that's the
Massachusetts.
ending to our season. It's really good if you can get down there on some snow.
Yeah. That's cool, because no other state really runs till the end like that, and you're almost guaranteed to get snow down there, which is just
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Especially that time
yeah.
of year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how it goes to the end. Another thing I love about Massachusetts is how they don't have a gun season during the peak rut.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So like
yeah.
the peak rut is at, in my opinion, November 1st to like November, like right around Thanksgiving time. That's when the most breeding's done, in my opinion, in this area. So a lot of big bucks get killed in that time period by rifle hunters
Because they mess up
in
in the fall
Vermont,
and
New
the doe.
Hampshire, Maine, what have it, New York. So in Massachusetts, those big boys get almost a free pass. They make it to the gun season, which is the Monday after Thanksgiving, and it's only, I think, 5-6 days, and then it's muzzleloader to the first. Those big bucks just get a pass, basically. And by the time they're done breeding, and you know they're starting to be a little bit more nocturnal and stuff,
Yep.
that's when the gun season opens.
Yep.
So
Makes sense. Was the day you got that one, was that your first time in there too, or was that
Yeah.
you'd known? It's the first.
Well,
first time for him. I
Yeah.
hunted
Okay.
there. My dad had brought me in there when I was
Gotcha.
just a little guy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember when I was just a little kid, you know, I'd only hunted, I couldn't even actually hunt that day when I was with my dad, because I think Mass back then, it was, you had to be 15
Okay.
to hunt. I don't know if it's that way now,
Yep.
but that's the way it was then.
Yep.
And we were headed up on this ridge, and I remember we were finding these like telephone pole sized trees all banged up, and like coming from Vermont, like I had never seen anything
yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
That really like lit a fire inside of me, like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, like this is amazing.
right.
And yeah,
Been
that's what it
rolling
took.
ever since.
Yeah, you got to get out of Vermont sometimes.
Yep.
I mean, there's some
Yep.
good ones in Vermont, but it's just not the same.
No,
I don't care what
even the
anybody
feed
says,
source
yeah.
isn't the same.
Yeah.
Do you guys do much scouting down here in the summer or at all, or summer or spring scouting in Mass? I know you did pick some sheds this year down here, right?
Yeah, I did some shed hunting this year down here, and I'm starting to incorporate some more off-season scouting down here. It's just I've been really focused on New Hampshire the last few years,
Yeah.
and kind of the way my mind works is like I want to like do things in sections, you
Yeah.
know. So it's like I'm gonna really break down New Hampshire,
Yep.
get all the areas really figured out, and then when I get that kind of nailed down, I can see myself moving down here and
Yep.
doing the same. But
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it's just so much. You get so many Saturdays.
Yeah.
so many Saturdays and
Stuff.
so many
Everything's
spots,
busy.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you only have so much time, and you
Yeah.
can only go so many places.
How has your guys' summer and spring scouting been overall so far, though? You guys got cameras out and stuff at this
Yeah.
point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been chasing around cameras like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, just putting them out. And, most of my new area scouting was done shed hunting.
Yep.
So that's where I was kind of, you know, looking into new areas, and now I'm just putting cameras up.
Yep. Anything promising yet? Anything? Any good velvet picks or no?
Yeah, there's some good ones.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've had some good bucks on camera
Yep.
already.
Vermont and New Hampshire?
Just New Hampshire.
Just New Hampshire? You guys
Yeah.
have more cameras?
The biggest buck I've had on camera in Vermont, maybe 80 inches.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Good stuff. What are you like looking for as far as like spring and summer scouting those, for those people that are listening? What are you like looking for to put cameras on? Are you looking for like community scrapes or what?
Spring is, in my opinion, the only way to do it.
Yes, summertime's hard because everything's growing up.
It's-
and it's
Yeah, and you'll hear everybody say that.
yeah.
Yep.
I think more or less in the summertime, just hike and
Just-
stay in shape and keep that, you know, cardio and everything up there.
Yep.
But the scouting, not so much.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I've burned myself before by going into an area in July and being like,
Yeah,
there's
you
no
can't see
sign.
the ground, covered up
Yeah,
with ferns.
yeah,
and
and
you
then
walked over a bunch of it. you
walked
know?
over a bunch of really good sign,
Yeah.
and, you know, go back through in the fall and it's torn up.
Yep.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, in the spring, as soon as the snow's starting to go, that's when you should be doing your scouting.
Yep.
You
For
know,
sure.
I've killed a lot of bucks because of that springtime scouting.
And you get to find some bonus sheds too if you're lucky.
Yep.
Some
Yeah,
days.
exactly.
Yeah.
Would you do 14 this year?
I found 13.
13?
Yeah.
Any for you, Gilly? Or
No.
No sheds?
So last year I was building a house. So I didn't do
Okay.
too much hunting or scouting last year, and I just
Right.
finished it this spring
Yeah. Yeah.
in May. So
Yeah. That's good stuff.
no.
Yeah, the shed hunting's
This
really,
year I'll be doing it.
really addicting.
I
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
Shed hunting in Vermont's a
It's a
tough
little
feat right there.
tough.
You found what, a couple in Vermont?
Four.
Right? 4?
I found
That's good.
4 in Vermont, yeah,
That's pretty
good.
which was awesome. And the reason why it's so tough in Vermont is because the dang critters eat them up so fast.
Oh yeah, that was one of
Squirrel
your theories
stuff,
on one
yeah.
of the podcasts.
Yeah, what was that, episode
Because there's no
8?
rattlesnakes, so
That's
all,
right.
all the squirrels eating the
See?
sheds up.
It's true, though. I think it's true. I mean,
Makes
the
sense.
rattlesnake biologist said I was full of baloney, but
Yeah. Hey,
yeah.
do you guys? Is there much snakes down here? You guys have?
I think there
Massachusetts
is.
ways?
There's rattlesnakes down here, isn't there? You don't?
No. Yeah, there's like 3
Oh.
spots in Vermont that have them, but
What was it 2 weekends ago we saw one?
I just saw one in the
Yeah.
Adirondacks 2 weekends ago.
Yeah,
we
almost,
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You almost stepped right on it.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
saw that. Yeah, dog got bit and died. Yeah.
really,
Yeah,
Over that
over in the
way?
Adirondacks. Yeah.
that's crazy. That's too bad.
Yeah, I mean they're like super protected,
Yeah.
so you can't kill them obviously, and you know it is what it is.
Yeah.
They're gonna populate.
Yeah.
I think they should do what Pennsylvania is doing, whereas they issue tags for them,
So you can actually.
so you
like-
can actually go out and hunt them for the meat and the skin, and all the money that they raise through the tags actually goes back into conservation for the
Okay.
rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Which is
I
pretty
think
good.
I think that's you could actually keep a, you know, a
Yep.
little bit of a lid on the population because I think they're starting to boom.
Are they?
In my opinion, yeah.
Yeah.
You see, it seems like you're hearing more about them and stuff. But
I mean, I've scouted in the Adirondacks 2 times in the summer in my life, and I've seen 2 big rattlesnakes.
is that? Did
So-
you see one this year? Right?
Yeah, just a couple weeks
That
ago.
was-
We
yeah,
almost stepped
man,
on it. I was
I'd-
right behind
Right.
him.
I don't know. I'd
Yeah, it
freak
was
out if
gnarly.
I saw one of those things. I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Ugh, no. I don't
Yeah, it'll
know."
make you think about where you're stepping.
Yeah, I guess
for
so,
sure,
and
yeah.
those
The worst part about
plantings-
this one is right around a big oak tree, so we
Yeah.
came around that tree and it was
Oh,
right
you were with
there.
him?
Oh yeah,
That
He's
behind
right
him,
behind
yeah.
me. All I
Oh,
heard was
man.
the like rattle, like
Oh, actually rattled
It was
at
probably
you?
a foot
he
away
tried
from
to bite me.
Foot away from his leg.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
God damn.
yeah,
Jeez.
definitely gnarly.
And you guys, back to deer hunting, you guys got a buck together this year, right? You got a buck up in Maine, Gilly, right?
Yeah.
We got 2 together
2.
this year.
2 this year?
We got one in Vermont together.
Okay.
Yeah.
2.
Muzzleloader buck, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
Maine was
Yep.
what, rifle?
Yep.
What
rifle.
was your main buck?
Just a 4-pointer.
Yeah. What was this? I know you guys were just cruising. You were up tracking one all day.
Well,
weren't
oh,
you?
yeah,
And
We
then-
tracked one down into the low grounds and there was no snow.
Yeah.
And we're going down this road, and actually he saw it first. I didn't even see it.
Yeah, an old tote road or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stepped
And we
out
was standing
into
there eating on the edge of the road.
Yep.
No kidding.
Yeah.
You guys sat there and watched it for a minute, didn't you, before you
yeah,
got to figure out
like
what
10
it was?
minutes. Well,
It was,
So-
it was probably 100 yards away.
yeah, I was
I had a
sitting there
peep sight.
feeding, and Gilly's got his peep sight, and the deer's like looking right at us, like feeding. And I'm like, as soon as he turns, Gilly, and the thing turns and like bops right down into the swamp.
Like instantly.
Yeah.
So we had to like scoot our way up
Yeah,
there.
so I
and,
snuck up the road and
yeah.
100
It was
yards,
cool, though.
Yeah. 100 yards with a peep sight. Is that what your first shot was?
No.
No, he
Oh,
didn't
you-
shoot.
he didn't
dived
shoot,
down
yeah.
into the swamp. and
Okay,
then
you snuck right
we
up
snuck
there.
up the road.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And it was like a 10-yard shot, but
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it was
close.
close.
Yeah,
You
it
didn't
was
bust like
close.
that? That's
It's close.
crazy. That just goes to prove, like, if it's when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. It's like when you least expect it a lot of times. you
Right,
know?
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
Like
And
you were
that's
just-
how that 7-pointer was in the
In
last day
Vermont.
of rifle in Vermont. Or
Yeah.
muzzleloader.
Muzzle. Last
Oh,
day of
muzzleloader.
muzzleloader.
Muzzleloader, yeah.
We were headed up into an area that I had a bunch of cameras in, and
He was on his phone trying to send me a pin to go, you get a camera.
Yeah.
The moral of the story here: every time you guys have your phones out talking to each other, something dies. It
Yeah.
seems like
Yeah,
5
exactly.
minutes later.
yeah, so he was standing right next to me. We're about to split.
Yeah.
So I'm going to drop him a pin on Onyx
To go get a camera.
to go get a camera for me on his, like, whatever, his loop that he's going to do that day.
Yeah.
And I'm facing kind of back towards the hardwoods, and Gilly's facing the cut. And all of a sudden, I see him, like, his eyes get big, and he pulls his gun up. He's like, big buck. I'm like, oh, son of a gun, you know, I caught with my pants
I was
down.
standing there. I was just thinking, like, wow, how cool would it be to just to see a deer come through this cut? And
Yeah.
Not even 5 minutes later, it steps out of this thick shit.
Yep, so I look up, and Gilly's pulled up on this buck, bopping across the cut, and he fires, and the buck keeps going a little way, so I picked up, and I fired, and we both hit it, and
They go
dead buck
down right there in the cut,
down right
Yeah.
there in the cut. We
Yeah.
both hit it.
chasing a doe, or just out, just
I
bopping
think
through
he
the
was
cut.
Just
I don't even
bopping
know what he was
across.
doing.
Yeah.
I think we might have bumped him out of there,
Yeah.
actually.
No kidding.
Probably heard us talking because we were sitting there shooting the shit. And
Yeah.
Probably would have been like a 150-inch buck one day.
Really.
Oh, he's a year and a half.
It was only a year and a half.
Seven-pointer.
Oh,
No
yeah.
kidding. Yeah, that was a nice little
Oh,
rack then.
wicked genetics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
definitely not the one you want to shoot. But
That's crazy for Vermont. Yeah, but you
Yeah.
see it's like Vermont. You see a rack buck
Yeah,
like that.
wicked
You better
generous.
yeah, we're gonna
shoot.
kill it. Yeah,
How old is that cut? Is
On
that
the
like
last day.
Is that a newer cut or an
It
older
was about
cut?
5 years.
yeah, 5
5
years.
years. That
yeah.
seems to be like the magic number. Like
Yeah.
3
Right.
to 7 up in Maine, from what
Yeah.
I've seen, is like that's
Yeah.
where all the buds are, and that's when and definitely the best cuts for sure.
Yeah, I mean that should be everybody's takeaway on anything that we talk about. Is if you're anywhere in New England, clear cuts, clear cuts,
cuts.
clear
Yeah.
cuts,
Yeah.
clear cuts. Like
Yeah.
I don't care if there's no feed. I don't care if there's no buck sign. Clear cuts, clear cuts,
And
clear cuts.
you guys at least like up my way, so I'm up more up towards like central Vermont area, Campbell's Hump, Mansfield. There's not actually the state just did some select cutting because there was a big ice storm a couple years ago.
Mhm.
Yep.
And so they did some select cutting to clear out all those dead blowdowns and stuff. But
Yeah.
other than that, there's no cuts up
Right.
in those big state forests. So
I think that's one thing with Vermont. There's not that many cuts.
No,
There's
and
no. It's the habitat.
it's the habitat.
we
It's-
lack
it's-
habitat, and in those areas, I think you just have to look for any kind of edge.
Yep.
So
for sure.
from hardwoods to green or softwoods,
Yep.
or any kind of swamp,
Mm-hmm.
any kind of, even like just little open spots in the woods because of
Yeah.
like rocks
Right.
or whatnot. You
Yeah.
know,
It's
big
si-
rocks.
Yep.
That's a good one
Yeah.
too.
Well,
not
anywhere
big-
where sun can get down and
Yep.
break through the canopy. It's
Yep.
kind of a lot of it is similar to the Adirondacks up in those big state forest blocks
Exactly.
as far as the
Yep.
deer relate so much to the mass crop years. So
Yes.
like in some of my areas, if there's not a beech nut year and there's not dropping beech nuts, there's
Right.
like hardly any deer, and I think they move down closer to the towns and stuff. But like last year with the buck I got was one of the craziest mass crops year with beech nuts. Like down low, all the does were down low.
Right.
And you go in there on a fresh snow and everything down low, whole bottom, everything's tore up.
Right.
Yeah, I
And,
noticed that last year. The beach nuts was pretty good.
Yeah, was it good down your
I
way
think
too?
This year it's gonna be
Yeah.
pretty good too.
Hopefully, yeah. And there's no
Yeah.
acorns or
I've
anything up
already
my way.
seen that.
Everything's beech
Right.
nuts. It's
Right.
all beech nuts. And
Yeah.
then actually too, where the ice storm came through a few years ago, where the state was doing some select cut in some areas, some
Right.
of the spots that they're not cutting, because you get all those knockdown trees, it has some of that
That
rush
growth.
coming up. So
Yep.
it's something to look for
Right.
sure.
Yeah. Any kind of edge. I think any kind of habitat like the Adirondacks, like you were talking, or like that central spine of Vermont,
Yep.
where there's no cutting going on,
Mhm.
that's the real challenge,
Yeah.
because you really cannot year to year pattern a big buck
Mm-hmm.
because they're so dependent on the mass crop, and they really just put their nose to the wind and go.
Right, and just go.
And it's funny to say, but like if you're hunting around cuts or a lot of cutting in the Northeast, you're hunting like the ag of the big woods.
Yeah.
It's like you can pattern a big buck for 5 or 6 years around a bunch of cuts because he's not going to go anywhere really. I mean, he's going to live around those cuts.
Yep.
They're going
Right,
to keep
sure.
coming back.
Yeah,
They're
until, like-
semi-patternable around
Yep.
those cuts.
Until that cut overgrows and they're not feeding in there, they can't reach the feed, and then it's all moose feed and stuff.
That's right.
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
But I kind of testing a new theory this year for scouting. So I just put a bunch of cameras out. Last year when I was tracking a few bucks around, kind of like up in some like super steep stuff up on the mountains. Like I'm talking like almost like chutes, like straight up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like they're like a half-mile shoot straight up. But I noticed after tracking a few bucks last year that on these steep ass chutes, it's usually like just a little creek that runs down through. There's like 2 spots that deer cross that super steep spot. There's nothing, and you're going up this creek, and then all of a sudden there's like just a tiny little shelf,
Yep.
and then those seem to be where all the deer are crossing. So I've got cameras soaking on those crossings just to get an inventory. Like
Yep.
I don't think deer are like going through there a lot, but when they're traveling from one side of the mountain through this chute to the
Yep.
other side, so I'll be curious to see how that is, because I think it's a good way to get inventory and stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Right,
I was-
exactly.
I was-
Pinpoint.
I was talking to the boys on the way down that a really good spot to put cameras or locate a buck track is if you have like 3 or 4 brooks that come down off a ridge,
Yeah.
Tie
and
into
they
one.
all tie into one spot in like a little bowl.
Yeah.
A lot of guys have coined the term thermal hub.
Okay.
So bucks will cruise through there in the rut, and they'll be able to pull thermals off of all those ridges.
Just sucking right down.
Suck it right down in that one spot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've found a lot of big, huge rubs banged up in those spots
Yeah.
where a bunch of brooks will come down and tie into one.
Makes sense. Just the scent pool right there.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna find them like a quarter to halfway up the mountain, usually like a big bowl
Yeah.
type deal where you got a bunch of brooks coming
Yeah.
together.
You ever seen any like big signposts in?
Yes.
Yeah, big signposts
Yes.
right there.
Yeah. I mean,
I guess, it's a central little hub there for sure.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of articles out there on stuff like that you can read online or in magazines, and
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense to me because during the rut, the buck's gonna take his easiest route to find a doe, or is the most like efficient route.
Yep.
And you know, they figured out that, you know,
Yeah.
you go through that area and
Yeah.
you can smell a doe off of every one of those ridges.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you guys what do you got planned for this year? What states are you gonna hit? I know you don't get as much time off as you'd like to, so you got
Yeah.
Same, I don't
you're the same
either.
way. Yeah. What do you guys got planned for the year?
New Hampshire
Yeah.
for sure.
Yep.
Massachusetts for sure. Vermont for sure.
Like starting bow, where are you gonna start? New Hampshire
New
bow.
Hampshire.
New
New
Hampshire.
Hampshire
I
bow.
have 3 weddings in September this year, which is just
Damn.
awesome. I'm
Yeah.
excited about it.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm that age where everybody's getting married, and it is what it is. But yeah, I'm gonna start in New Hampshire, hunt Vermont. And Mass.
Yep.
Maybe Adirondacks. Thinking
You've been,
about
yeah,
it.
you've been looking around. You
I've-
might as well. That's what
I-
the last state you haven't. No, did you get one? No, you got
I've
one in
gotten
New York.
one. I've gotten one in New York, just not in the Adirondacks. I got
Gotcha,
one
gotcha.
down in the Catskills, but I really, really want to get one in the Adirondacks
Yep.
just to check it off the list. But I've let a bunch go, and I screwed up on a really nice one. So Adirondacks have definitely been a struggle for me. But
Yep. What about you, Gilly? What's your plan for the year?
Probably just, teaming up with him and
Yep.
ride New Hampshire.
Any
Yeah.
you going up to Maine again this year or not? I mean, you got one
We
here
might.
last year. You might as well.
So
get back up there.
if we have one of those years, one of
Yep.
those like
Good.
one of those really good years where things are just going right,
Right.
Yep.
then we could see Maine for
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
I mean, if we're killing deer, we're gonna keep killing deer till we
Yeah.
can't kill deer anymore.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
Yeah, I might as well make the most
One
of
state
it.
at a time.
that's
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure. I'm my plan right now. So I just actually ordered a bed rack for my truck and one of those
Sweet.
hardtop tents.
Oh, yep.
So
that'll
we
be
get
cool.
luckily I got the whole month off for November, so I'm just gonna bounce around New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont, and then do some late season stuff in Mass. Probably link up with you guys down here. But
Yeah.
looking forward to it. It's gonna be cool.
It's going to be a
There'll
fun
be
year.
we're gonna do a bunch of videos and stuff on the STAGR YouTube channel. So
Sweet.
those will be on there. Just try to make as much content as we can, and then kind of what you and I talked about. Our plan for this year for the podcast during the season, Isaac's got a mic set and I've got a mic set, and we're bouncing around with a bunch of other guys. So we're going to try to bring like daily or every couple days updates, kind of keep you guys filled in with what we got going on, just to kind of keep the deer stories flowing. Because I always like the deer stories and the podcasts
Yep.
that come
Right,
out
and
during
what
the
happened
season.
from the
So
day,
it's
you
cool
know?
to.
Yeah, you're gonna hear a different tone in my voice during deer season
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I'll be fired up yelling in the mic. Oh, you know?
Yeah,
definitely.
get it all, good days and bad days. But
Oh, sometimes they're bad days,
Yep.
but
yeah.
Exactly.
Hopefully we get some weather this year. The last couple years
I
have
hope
been
so.
tough.
Yeah.
Since
It's been
what,
lacking snow.
2019 was we had a
Good
decent
snow
amount of
year.
snow in 2019, but 2020 and 21, like last year, we didn't get snow till the last day in Maine. I was
Right.
up there. I shot up to Wilson's Mills and never got a good track, but tracked a spike horn with a doe and could have shot that. But I was like, probably I got some shit for that for last day. Like, shoot a
Right.
spike, whatever. But I was like, nah, we'll see. But hopefully this
Right.
year, because like that year you got your giant New Hampshire buck. You had when was that? That was like Halloween. you had
November
snow.
3rd.
November 3rd.
November 3rd. But see, the thing is the whole state didn't have snow. Like
Yep.
we kind of set ourselves up so where we like to hunt is high elevation mountains,
Yeah.
you know, so we'll get that early stuff to where the low country or just the
Right.
average mountain won't get it.
Yep.
You know, usually that snow line's like 2,500, it seems
Yeah.
like.
Yep.
You know, so we're hunting 4,000 footers.
Yep.
Half the mountain's going to be covered. You
Yeah.
know, I'll work with that,
Yeah.
you know.
That's what it was in the first part of this season in Vermont. Like I
Yeah.
got my buck on Tuesday of that first week, down at the truck, no snow at all. But
Oh,
you
yeah.
already got up to 1,800 to
Yep.
Yeah.
2,500. You started getting snow, and then up towards the 3,000 foot mark in that green growth stuff, there's like 6 inches.
6
it piles
inches,
up
yeah.
quick,
Yep.
and it's easy to be driving around down low and be like, there's no snow, but like you
Right.
see a little bit up on the top, so
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
There you
But,
got to
I
go,
mean,
man.
You put
You
the
gotta
gun on the
check it out.
back and get up that hill because
Yep.
you never know what happens up there.
Yeah, I mean, I
you
couldn't
know?
tell you how many times I've dragged one out of the snow.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
so
Like,
this
it's like,
year.
oh, this is beautiful dragging, and then all of a sudden you're in leaves,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah, it happens. It happens fast.
Yeah,
for
dragging
sure.
out snow sucks.
Oh,
Yeah.
my
Oh,
gosh.
it's terrible.
You know,
Yeah.
Gilly and I have been on a few doozies, haven't we, buddy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
2 or 3 in the morning.
I seem to shoot them in the worst spots
Yeah.
possible, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
your
and
New
the ones
Hampshire
you-
buck was what,
yeah.
8 hours to drag that thing out?
Yeah, 7 hours.
How's that
5
even
guys.
set? Was it just out that far, or was it just like the crazy terrain?
Yeah, it was far.
Yeah.
It was far, long ways away, and it was a lot of spruce.
Yeah.
Because he died in this big, huge gully. So it was like a big
Yeah, that was like almost
ravine.
vertical on the
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
and so we couldn't get him out,
Yep.
basically. I mean, we could have, but we would have killed ourselves trying to get him out.
Yep.
So we just figured, we'd drag him down with the gully
Yep.
the whole way. And, I mean, we had 2 guys in the front just, like, breaking trail, literally.
Really?
Just, like, pushing spruce Yeah, I mean he was wide too,
Yeah.
which didn't help.
Yeah, I see.
I don't know how he lived up
your
there.
picture
but-
on Instagram with the stick in its horns.
Yeah.
You guys are dragging it out. That's
Yeah.
one of my favorite pictures of you guys. That's a
Yeah.
sick picture.
Yeah,
But-
one thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is this year for the YouTube channel is Gilly's going to be doing a lot more filming.
Yeah.
He's got himself his own GoPro.
Nice.
And Nate Corey's going to be doing a lot more filming. He's done a bunch on the channel already.
Nate's a killer, man.
Nate's a killer.
Yeah, Nate's a
he
killer.
is. He's the old fat Indian we like to call him. The old boy can hunt. Hey, fat Indian means good hunter, right?
I guess
Yeah.
so.
That's right. But
Yeah.
so him, Jake Pierce.
Yep. He's
is
over
go-
there at your booth.
Yep, he's the one that actually filmed my New Hampshire buck.
Yep.
So he's going to be doing a lot more filming this year. I'm really excited to see what he puts out. He's a good deer hunter.
Yep.
And Connor
will be
Schlong,
doing some
obviously.
stuff.
Yep. Connor and I will both be doing stuff for Northwoods as well.
Yep.
But I think there's going to be a ton of stuff out this year
Yep.
Mhm.
for tracking
What's the
content.
plan with Northwoods? Like, what are you guys gonna do? You guys got cameramen, or what's the? You know
so
what the whole idea is with that so far?
Yeah, he's got a lot of guys that are going to be doing, strictly filming for him and stuff. And,
Yep.
we're all going to have GoPros and stuff. But I'm going to be doing a lot on the producing side of
Okay.
things.
Yep.
I'm going to be doing a lot of editing for him and the guys. But I'll definitely have some videos up there too.
Yep.
Some tracking
That'd
and
be
stuff.
cool.
I'd love to get somebody to follow me around.
Yeah,
you know-
you only had that a couple. Connor followed you around a couple times last
Twice,
year,
yeah.
right towards the end of the season
On-
or beginning of the season.
He went one day in Vermont, which was a fun day. And then he went one day in New Hampshire on both crappy snow days,
Yeah.
like just crap snow. But the second day in New Hampshire was a really great day, but we never turned the mic on the camera on.
Oh
So
no,
I,
no audio all day.
No audio all day, so I didn't get to post that video. But that was a great day.
Oh man,
It's fun. I definitely would love to shoot one with somebody behind me because you just get that
it's a
different
whole
aspect.
different perspective.
Yeah, you get that like Benoit style of
Yep.
tracking.
Right.
There's just
Yeah.
nothing out there right now.
And I think
Of it.
that's Northwood's plan.
It
They're going to
is.
be doing
I
a
mean-
lot of stuff with actual cameramen
Yeah.
trying to emulate kind of what the Benoits, because no one's really brought what the Benoits have done as far as video wise in
No.
the recent
Right.
like past couple decades and stuff. So
Yeah, and those guys, they got the guys to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
Joey, Dustin, John Moulton, John Wright, Travis Williams. I mean, these guys
Yeah.
are just killers.
that's crazy. I mean, you look at last year, John Moulton got two 200-pounders. John
Yeah,
Wright,
John Wright killed
two giants.
140 something inch 8-pointer. Like these guys are just absolute
Yep.
killers.
And Joey dropped a 130 in Vermont.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's if they can get good guys to film them, like it's gonna be
Yeah.
nuts.
You have to, if you're gonna have a successful cameraman, you have to have somebody that's also
Yeah.
a tracker. Like I've brought friends with me before,
Right,
the ones
yeah,
that
you
are
gotta know what
just
they're doing.
like, oh, they've bow hunted, but they've never tracked,
Right.
And it's just a whole different ball game, and you have to have somebody that knows when to stop, knows when to slow down.
Well, you have to
type
have
of deal.
somebody who can keep up with you
Exactly,
half
too.
the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And when you're a tracker, most of
right.
the time you're nuts.
Yeah.
Like so you're running up over these hills all the time. You get somebody that's not used to doing that, and they're like, "What are you doing?"
Yep.
But they got some college guys that are in really good shape.
Oh, do they?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah,
These
that's
guys
what
are
you need.
straight athletes. I don't even think they want to hunt. So I
No
mean,
kidding. Just want to produce.
they
and
want to
make
film
video.
and stuff, and I think that's what you need.
Yep.
If you're really gonna do good, because
Yep.
I mean, if you like to hunt, you're not gonna want to film.
Yep.
That's just the thing. I mean, how are you gonna get a good cameraman that likes
Right,
to deer
that's
hunt?
my problem with filming. I get too distracted in the heat of the moment.
You're looking at the deer, not the camera.
Right,
Yeah, you have to have
exactly.
someone zoned right in on the viewfinder
Yeah.
and everything.
Well, I follow him around a lot usually when I get one.
Yeah.
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 And I get way too distracted of what's going on instead
Cool.
of focusing on.
We'll get you
videoing.
turning that camera on this year.
Yeah.
It's not easy, is it, Gilly?
No, it's not at all.
It's not easy.
No.
No, you got to kind of have that. It's almost like turning the safety off. You have to be like, it's that step
Yep.
while
Right.
you're hunting that you have to think about. It's a whole nother piece of it.
Yep.
But,
Yep. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I think we can kind of wrap this one. You guys got any questions? Anything you guys want us to answer? Talk about anything else? Anything? Everybody good? Secret
The
spots.
secret spots.
Send you some
They're
on
secret spots.
The secret spot is every mountain has a big buck on it.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
There's one up there somewhere.
Delusional
Yeah.
confidence. That's just they're all over the place. Just keep your head up, and
Yeah.
you'll run into one eventually.
Yeah.
How do you know when to turn on your camera when you're tracking?
Wow. See, that's the tricky part.
See, but you got the GoPro now that's
Yeah.
quick. So the old ones are slow. You turn them
Yeah.
on, it's like 3 seconds, and you get to press
Like
Record. Yep.
record, and then it's but
you
the new ones
So-
are the way to go.
Slow down, but he's slowing down for 300 yards.
Right. So
you're better off just to videotape.
my GoPro is like 2 seconds after I click the button, it'll turn on and start recording. So, like the buck I got in Mass last year, I turned it on when I saw the buck. Like, that was the first thing I did. I was like, oh, there he is, clicked it on. And then, because I was rolling a lot that day, but to actually be rolling, you know, I could think I'm getting close, but then you got to worry about battery. Because you don't want to run your battery down super low and have to be fiddling with that when you think he's going to be right there, you know? So it's like you kind of got to play that game of, it's just a whole nother thing to think about, which is...
It's hard. It's tough.
I enjoy it just because I love the fact that I'm getting to take these memories and almost like preserve them forever, you know, and that's kind of why I'm doing it. That's my idea behind the whole thing. And
it's been good so far.
Yeah, it's fun.
Videos.
We're getting better at telling a story.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's definitely very hard to come from no like filming background, I guess you can call it. Like I'd watch hunting videos and I'm like, oh, it's easy. You know, I could do that, no problem. And then I start trying to do it, and it's like, wow, there's a whole lot to this. Like trying to tell a story with a camera is.
The editing too in itself is an art. Like that's a whole nother.
I feel like
game.
I'm really good at editing
Yep.
now. I'm at where I want to be. It's just the telling of the story.
Right.
Yep.
Talking to the GoPro.
We have
Basically.
not just that, but like getting like a nice linear like day of stuff where you kind of like watch my stuff now sometimes, and it's like, well, it's like here's a little piece of the day, here's a little piece of the day, and I try to tie it together, but we have a lot of room to grow.
Yep.
You know, this is only the third year we've been doing it. So
what's your tip for people that want to get into it? I know you said just record everything. Anything else?
I mean, that's the biggest thing I found, and I learned it from the Hunting Publics podcast. They said just film everything. If you're gonna film hunts, just roll all the time, and then you can go through later and, you know, take what you want. But and it's true, because when I first started doing it, I would always have the camera in my pack. Yep. I wouldn't even take it out of my pack half the time. But then when I did have it out and about, I just would never film anything. Like, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like a psychological thing.
Yep.
Yeah. You're like, oh, this isn't good enough to film, and you don't film it, and then the day's done with and you have no footage. So.
But it's often some of the stuff that you don't even expect to be filming that gives you your best footage.
Yes.
It's the little stuff.
The little stuff. People like the real
story.
stuff. Yeah. And then like B-roll, which is just like random shots of like a pretty brook or something.
Yeah,
you know,
scenery.
Everything makes
scenery, you know. But we're learning, and, you know, I think very thankful for the amount of people that are watching already, you know, in a short time. But I think some big deer helped with the viewership.
Yeah, for sure.
But, you know, we're definitely going to get better at it.
Good. Yeah. No, we look forward to it.
Cool.
All right. You guys good? Anything else we can answer for you guys? Or
Transitioning from getting the shot with the camera to actually making the shot, any tips or tricks on getting better at making that quick shot?
With a gun?
Yeah, practicing.
Yeah,
that's a good question.
Very good question. Skeet's a big one. I grew up rabbit hunting cottontails, and I think especially like when I have a son one day, like that's gonna be my biggest push, is gonna be getting him on cottontails, because I mean I don't even think about shooting, because I was 5, 6, 7 years old with an old 20 gauge, you know, just blasting away at these bunnies running through briars, and I think that's. You know, if you're an adult now and you're looking to get better at those quick shots and stuff, you know, instinctual shots, I think rabbit hunting's the way to do it. Get a beagle, or get a buddy with a beagle. You know, find somebody with a beagle, go and shoot at these rabbits flying through the brush.
I think bird hunting's pretty good too.
Sure.
If you're up in Maine, before rifle season starts, you go up to Maine and you kind of ride the roads or take a stroll out. That bird hunting, that gets you quick too, because those things will be bugging off the sides of the road and everything like that.
It's just basically
in open sites. Open sites is a big one. If you go to a peep site, it's going to be weird if you've been used to a scope your whole life. But if you want to get into tracking, there's a reason why Larry Benoit used a peep site. There's a reason why Hal Blood used a peep site. There's a reason why all these unbelievable trackers are using peep sites, is because it's a fraction of a second faster. So that fraction of a second is 3 hours in, you know, equivalent of time when you got a buck getting out of his bed or whatever. It's like all the time in the world is that 1/10 of a second. You know, that's the difference between getting a buck and not getting a buck. But
do you guys ever do any of the old tire roll shooting there?
I've honestly
done it once, but I usually just I'll set up like 3 targets, one at 25, one at 50, and one at 75, just like in a line. kind of at a diagonal and just try to, pick up, bang, bang, and then,
I honestly, I'd like to say I practice, but the way that ammo is,
Well, it's getting better now.
So
last
cheap.
year was bad. I had one box all season last year.
My
I was
hunting
like,
ammunition,
man.
I just keep tucked away and I just save it, hoard it. It's like the stuff's like crazy.
You can't find it nowadays.
Yeah,
I think it's getting better this year. They actually started
it?
making .6 and the 35 again, but last year
good.
I had one box all season long. I was like, oh man.
Hopefully we don't.
But I
miss
do
too
have a
many times.
beagle.
Yeah.
So I do get to rabbit hunt
Yeah.
in the wintertime, and that's where I get my practice, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. You had a video of this. You smacked one bugging out.
Unbelievable shot. I couldn't believe I hit it, but
Yeah.
it was like a 1 BB deal out
That's
of a
all it
12.
was?
Yeah, 12 gauge.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah,
Perfect.
definitely.
Cool, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah,
We're gonna be doing a listener episode over at the Stagger booth there. So if you have a buck story, you want to stop by, 5-10 minutes, swing by, shoot the shit with us, and we'll go from there. But we over there. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
All right, guys, that's the end of the live portion of this episode. We're now going to transfer over to the listener portion where we sat down with John Geronaitis, got a couple great buck stories that you're not going to want to miss. So we hope you enjoy that. But before we do, I just wanted to let you know that all of you guys that pre-ordered gear from STAGRgear.com, all those orders are on their way to you now at the time of this episode being live. So we hope you enjoy that stuff. And if you haven't picked up any Stagger gear, go to www.staggergear.com. You can pick up everything from gloves, capes, you can get a jacket pre-ordered, beanies, all that stuff. So that stuff's shipping out, excluding the jackets, and we'll get that to you right away.
All right, we're here at HuntStock, whole STAGR Cast action here with John Geronaitis.
How we doing?
I get that right?
Yep,
Sweet.
you got that right.
All right, cool. We're going to just do some buck stories. Do you want to kind of tell me about, I see you shot a big 200-pounder in Vermont in, what was it, 2019?
Yep, 2019.
Yeah, you want to kind of run us through how you killed that deer?
Yeah, it was the Thursday before Thanksgiving. I'd come up, I have a camp up in the Kingdom, close to the New Hampshire border, and it was actually left to me by an old-timer friend of mine. He had died that spring, so this one was extra special. But I'd come up the night before, got into camp, got the stove going, all that good stuff, and I had an idea where I wanted to start looking for a track. The snow wasn't real good. It was kind of old and crunchy, and it was cold, but we were going to give it a try. As you guys know, there's not a lot of big bucks. Or there's a lot of big bucks, but there's not a lot of bucks up there.
Right, in Vermont especially, yeah.
So I went out. I was up there by myself. Went out in the morning, checked the spot, and got into a bunch of tracks early, sorting them out and going through deer tracks, coyote tracks, even bear tracks. They were out.
Oh, no kidding.
Trying to sort out what was new and what was old.
Yep.
Because, like I said, that was older snow.
Yep.
And I ended up coming through an area early in the morning that wasn't very far from the truck. That was basically the hub of the wheel. Everything seemed to kind of funnel into this area.
Yep.
Everything came in a big circle, and
Yep.
they were feeding in there and bedding in there. And
Yep. A little barnyard situation.
Definitely a barnyard situation.
Okay.
And so I marked that on my GPS. Kept going on the track I was on. Figured that'd be a good spot to check later or just see. Well, I had chased one for a while. I don't know. I probably went 2-3 miles.
Yep.
Ended up coming across one of the camp roads out there.
Yep.
And ended up being a set of boot tracks on it. I followed it a little longer, and the boot tracks stayed on it. And that was, I think it had been 1:30, 2 o'clock by then. I don't remember exactly. So my camp is off grid, so I figured at that point I'd go back to camp, throw some wood in the stove so it might be somewhat warm.
Right.
There, hike back to the truck, and when I turned and I was going to go up past camp to hunt or Beach Ridge, I knew just for the evening. I didn't want to go in and have dinner. It was still a few hours. I figured I'd just hang out, sit somewhere for a little bit. I don't love it, but given the situation, I figured I'd sit.
Yeah.
Well, when I turned off the one road and onto the camp road, I noticed there was a truck in front of me.
Yeah.
So I followed him out through, and he was headed to one of them camps out beyond me. So I said, well, I won't. I'm gonna let him be.
Yep.
Figured there's some other guys that hunt up on there
Yep.
through them camps, and I decided I was gonna throw some wood in the stove. I don't remember. I think I grabbed a snack or something real quick and
Yep.
headed back out. Well, I went back to that barnyard. I figured, well, it's close to where I parked the truck at the landing.
Yep.
Get in there pretty quick and easy. Sit there for the last hour and a half, lean up against a tree somewhere, and
Yep.
hang out. So that's what I did. Found a big hemlock tree kind of in the middle of that barnyard. Leaned up against it, put my pack down, just hung out.
Yep.
I was there, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes, and I heard crunch, 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 crunch. I says, well, I think that's a deer, and he's coming at me, but parallel to me. I was on a flat and I could just see to where it rolled back down. It's all thick, small birches,
Yep.
and it's big kind of tangled mess in there, but you could see a little ways. Well, I heard it crunch, and I said, that's got to be a deer. And then it broke a stick. I'm like, oh, maybe it's somebody else in here. Well, we'll wait and see. Well, I finally, you got closer and closer. I'm ready, and I first, all I could see was a body. It was a deer.
Yeah.
And then the next little opening it went through, it was just walking. I could see I could see its head, and I could see its left antler, and I only saw really the end of it. But I knew it had to have been a pretty good buck because it was pretty far out around its head.
Right.
I saw the end 2 points. So in Vermont, I mean, I saw the fork.
It
I knew
was
it
legal,
had.
yeah.
I knew he was legal.
Yep.
Like I said, it was out away from his head quite a ways.
Yeah.
I didn't get a great look at it, but I figured you see deer up in that country that look decent, you better shoot them because you're probably not going to see another one.
Absolutely.
So he went in the next opening. I actually shot him in the neck underneath a tree that was tipped over. Not really a blowdown, but it was leaning. He went through this area and he just disappeared. Flop. Figured he flopped or he was gone. I don't know.
Yep.
But I ended up running over there after a minute, and there he was flopping and thrashing on the ground. I hit him right in the neck. I give him a minute and waited, and he actually almost got back up.
Oh, yeah.
So I said, uh-oh. So I shot him once more, and that was the end of that. Well, I get looking at him, and like I said, I saw the left side of that antler. I knew there was a fork, but where he fell down in the snow, there wasn't a lot of snow, but there was snow, and then he was flopping a little bit, and he had drove his left antler, the one I had seen, into the leaves.
Yep.
And so I couldn't really see it. So when I came up kind of behind him, I guess would have been before I shot him that second time, he had a messed up antler on the right-hand side. It was basically a big spike, like 8 or 10 inches, and a brow tine. But when I came up behind him, I couldn't see that brow tine. I could just see the spike.
You're like, oh.
And I went, uh-oh.
Oh, no.
What did I just do? I swear, and you start doubting yourself.
Yeah.
Wondering, did I really see that fork? I swear I saw that fork, but it was just a quick second,
Yeah.
And then he was behind the next tree. Well, once things calmed down and settled down, I realized that he had a good side.
Yeah.
Buried in the leaves.
Yeah.
And he
That was a big body deer.
Yep, 207.
Cleaned
He ended
out,
up being, yep.
That's a big
Cleaned
buck.
out.
Is that your heaviest buck to date?
Yep,
It
that's
is?
the heaviest one I've
Yep.
shot.
207. Yeah, that's a dandy in Vermont, man. It's hard to get them. Even in the Northeast Kingdom,
Yeah.
it's hard. Yeah.
We've, my buddy owned that camp, or he built that camp in the mid-'80s. He shot one. He shot several up there, but he shot one up there that was over 200, and that was like 230.
Ooh.
Or 227, I think. I'd
That's
have
a
to
big
look.
deer,
We got
yeah.
the certificate on the wall.
Yep.
Um,
So those 200-pounders come hard.
yeah,
They come hard, yeah.
there's been a few shot around there.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it's good
there's-
country for them.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. So that was, what year did you shoot that one?
That was 19.
That was 19. And then you got, just off the top of my head, I can remember you had 2 other really big bucks right in the last few years. One was
Yep.
Maine, one was New Hampshire
Yeah, I
You
shot another one later on that year
in 19.
in 19 in Maine.
Yep.
So we try to go over. My girlfriend's parents have a house in the Western Mountains of Maine. That's where she grew up.
Yep.
Quite a few years we've gone over there and for Thanksgiving to have Thanksgiving with the family, and they're all deer hunters.
Yep.
So we hunt that whole week. And I shot him, that one I shot the same year as that 207 was the last day.
Last day of rifle.
Yeah, last day of rifle. So that had been that Saturday after Thanksgiving. So
Right.
I'd come home from camp,
Yep.
hung that deer up at the house. I'm trying to remember. I don't know what we did in New Hampshire. I may have hunted a day or two.
Yeah.
Didn't do much.
Yep.
And then we headed up to her parents there that Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening,
Yep.
and I hunted that whole week.
Yeah, you want to run us through a little bit how you got that big Maine buck?
Yep, I can.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I don't think anything real noteworthy happened at the beginning of the week.
Yeah.
Nothing sticks out to me.
Yeah.
I do remember.
Just looking for sign.
Yep, scouting around, looking
Scouting
for
around.
sign.
Yep.
Found a nice cedar swamp out there
Yep.
that actually had a couple small signposts, and since then I found a bigger one out
Yep.
in there
On a cedar.
on brown ash.
I was on a brown ash. Okay.
Brown ash
Yep.
out there.
I've seen a few on cedar trees before.
Yep,
Yep.
I've seen a couple big ones on cedars. I
Yeah.
don't think they were signposts. I've seen them on
Just
hemlocks.
big rubs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there's some brown ash in there that, like I said, we found since then
Yep.
on the other side of it. But that's important because the Thanksgiving morning, that Tuesday or Wednesday night, we got snow,
Yep.
good snow. And I'd been scouting out through there, and I brought her out. Her and I were walking together out. I had found a scrape line with some rubs on an old twitch road.
Yep.
And she's getting into tracking now, but was more of a sitter back then. So I was walking her out to show her where that was, and it was still snowing. Good, like I said, good snow. One of them days you dream about.
Killing day.
Killing day.
Yeah.
So we were just about to where I was going to split up with her, and I was headed for that cedar swamp because I figured I could pick up a track there.
Yep.
You know, I mean, like you said, it's killing day. I want to chase a buck.
Yep.
Well, we're almost there. We're almost splitting up. And I said, I'm going to go up here and look for a track. She goes, we were going, and I see some tracks up ahead. She goes, isn't that a buck track right there? I'm like, yeah, smoking fresh. I mean, there's
No kidding. Like steam rolling out of it.
3 snowflakes in it, and it's still snowing.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, all right, well,
What time of the day is it?
morning.
Morning. Like this is dream scenario.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Amazing.
Yep.
So it's headed down. It come down this skid road and kind of bailed over the bank and headed down. And there's a big bowl in there. It's oaks. I figured it was either checking does feeding or
Yep.
or something. But I knew it was headed that way. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, you good? Because I'm going.
Yep.
So I take that track. Good track. Good track.
Yep. Big
And
forefinger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right up
Yeah.
there.
If I remember right.
Yep.
I take that track and I follow it a little ways, and it starts down over the bank.
Yep.
And I knew her brother had went down somewhere down that way to sit. So I'm standing at the top of the bank, and I knew what he had went down the roadways, and they, like I said, they all sit. So I knew what skid road he had walked in on, and I stood up there and I'm debating. Do I run right down past him and be that guy, or do I let it be?
Yeah.
And I said, the heck with him. I'm going to go. This thing is smoking fresh.
Yeah.
I mean, so I ended up going down, and I'm headed on it. Bailed down over the bank. Ended up slip sliding right past him. He's sitting on a stump. Kind of waved as I went by and said sorry. In a way I went. And I got down in that bowl, and I start slowing down. You can see they were feeding, and I get looking, and all of a sudden I see something off to my right, and there's a deer, but I can't see its head. There's a beech limb with winter beech leaves still on it, just covering, like, from its eyes up. It's staring at me 40 yards, looking at me. And so I'm looking at it. I'm trying to sort it out. I know I'm on a buck track. There's no doubt in my mind I'm on a buck. But I'm looking at it. So I kneel down. And this is important. in this story later on. But I'm looking at it, I'm looking at it, and I can't see antlers. I finally, after a little bit, and it's not moving, it's a doe.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay. I said, but like I said, I knew that track had to have been a buck.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I get looking around, I'm wondering where he is. Where's this buck? I said, he got to be around here somewhere.
With that doe being there and that hot track going down in that bowl, you figured he was right there somewhere.
He's got to be right here somewhere.
Laying right with her. Yeah.
So I'm looking, I'm kneeling down because I knelt down just to try to see under that limb. Well, I'm watching her. Well, she finally, you could tell she was getting antsy. So I was ready. I figured she'd take off and he's going to be right behind her, and maybe we'll take a crack at it. Well, she took off and nothing moved. Nothing
with her, yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, this buck's here somewhere. I mean, We went from a couple snowflakes in the track to no snowflakes at all. I mean, this buck is right here, and I didn't go very far, maybe a quarter mile.
Was it still snowing at this time?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so you're right there.
I'm right there, so I kind of eased forward a little bit more, and I'm still up above him, which was perfect. And it's still, that bowl is, I'm like halfway down that bowl, and I can see, well, end up looking down in there below, and all of a sudden I see something move. Well, that buck had kind of turned back on his track, and he was just feeding up through. And I see him. It was a big-bodied deer. I think it was a 6-pointer, best I could tell. Real, I'll remember this rack forever. It was came up real high, curved forward, and was short tines, short beams.
Yep.
I couldn't tell if he had brows or not.
Yep.
But there he was down there, about 70, 75, 80 yards. Like I said, it's an oak bowl, fairly open.
Yep.
So I'm looking. So I had my 7600 carbine in 35 Whalen, and I have a 1-4 Trigicon on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, remember how I said earlier I was kneeling down looking at that doe?
Yep.
Well, the whole time I was kneeling down looking at that doe, I was breathing on the back of that scope, and it was cold.
Frosted right up on you.
It didn't frost yet, but it was fogged right up. So I pull up the gun, and I had a nice opening, beautiful opening. I had a beautiful view of the deer. Reached down, cranked it right up to 4 power. Pull up on it. I'm going to shoot this thing. It's like taking candy from a baby. This is, the easiest track I've ever been on.
Yep.
Go down there, I'm going to kill this buck. I pull that scope up, I can't see a thing. I'm going, uh-oh. Now, luckily for me, that the buck was just down there feeding, so I'm trying to pull up. Wool coats don't really wipe
They don't,
condensation off at all real good, so I'm trying to get down another layer.
Gives me an idea. Anyways.
And clean that scope off. Well, he had moved. Anyways, long story short, I ended up shooting at him.
Yep.
The
6-pointer?
Yep.
Yep.
I ended up hitting him.
Yep.
High and back, best I could tell. He took off. I thought I missed him. Get down there. She's texting me, asking me, did you just shoot? Was that my brother? What's that? Because everybody in that valley heard that wailing. If nobody shot one of them 7600s in a wailing, they are loud in the carbine.
Yeah, I love it.
Loud.
Love it.
So I waited about 0.2 seconds because I was all fired up.
Yep.
Not thinking about what I was doing. And I head down after him, and you could see his tracks. Like I said, fresh snow.
Yep.
I chased him down through, got down there, kind of sorted things out, realized after, 50, 60 yards, I did hit him. This is after a little bit. Like I said, I finally got that scope halfway clear. It was not good.
Right.
And I hit him. Well, I should have let him bed down. I know this now. At the time, I wasn't thinking clear.
Right.
And I ended up chasing that deer all day. I went 5 miles before noontime on that buck.
It's a stroke.
I saw him once real good in a spot that you could have told me that deer was going to be right there. and I still couldn't have killed him. I mean, it was just winter beach,
Yep.
and it was covered in snow, so it was all hanging down,
Yep.
and nothing I could do about it. And I ended up losing that deer in with some other ones. He wasn't bleeding good. I don't think I killed that deer.
No. Yeah. I think he
hit-
made it.
I think he did. Hit him
Yeah.
high and back,
Yep.
in front of the rear hip, and below the spine. Best I can tell, I think he made it. Like I said, I chased him a long, long ways.
Right.
And the reason I tell that story is getting to the other story. So that was Thursday.
Yep.
Friday, I spent basically most of the day checking that area to see if I could find that buck.
Right.
Looking around, kind of sweeping up and down them hills and all through that bowl,
Yep.
and figuring maybe I could find some blood. Now, the snow had settled. The snow had actually settled that afternoon. It had warmed up. Everything kind of settled. Tracks got mushy, and
Yep.
it kind of went away.
Yep.
So I never found that deer. I looked and all over the place out there.
Yep.
I had chased one out there a couple of years before that, and didn't get him. Shot at him, missed him. But so that brings me to Saturday.
Yep.
The
Last
third-
day.
Last day,
Yep.
cold. I got up and I was still a little upset, ugly about that one, because I'm pretty sure her father actually had a picture of that deer on camera. I'm almost positive. Like I said, he had a very unique rack, and I'm pretty sure looking at those pictures, that was a 200-pounder.
Really? Yeah. He's a big old,
Body
yeah.
with not a
Unique
lot of rack.
Yep.
Yeah, it was unique. Like I said, it was super tall
Yep.
and short.
Yep.
So I was kind of deciding what I wanted to do. I got up before dark. We knew it was a good acorn year that year, and they had all been hammering on that bowl.
Yep.
We'd seen a couple other deer in there, and I said, well, I'm going to go in early in the morning, sit there. It was horrible conditions. Like I said, it warmed up Thursday afternoon. Friday was real warm, and then Saturday was cold. Real cold. Hard, crunchy, loud, but it was windy.
Yep.
And that's going to be important here in a minute, because I don't know how this would have worked out without the wind. Well, I sat in that bowl for a little bit, just hanging out, let the sun come up. It wasn't that far in there, so I figured we'd hang out there until the sun came up. It was cold, see if deer were moving, and then kind of go from there. And I was going to kind of take a walk out around. There was one kind of section of that ridge that I hadn't checked real well,
Yep.
and to see if that buck was there. I figured I wasn't going to find it,
Yeah.
but I was still kind of half looking. I knew that at this point it was probably gone,
Yeah.
but I knew I wanted to check one more spot.
Yeah. You weren't gonna give up.
I wasn't going to give up on that.
Yep.
Well, I went out and I checked that spot after the sun come up. It was a while I was thinking about going in. It was that cold.
Yeah.
But the sun finally come up, and I was kind of in the open. I ended up standing in the sun about 10 or 15 minutes and warming up, and said, nope, I'm going to go out and look. Well, I checked it, and I didn't see any sign of anything out there. So I said, well, I'm going to poke my way out along this ridge. And like I said, it was loud and crunchy, real loud, but it was windy. I ended up seeing like 3 or 4 deer that morning, scared a doe and a fawn, loud and crunchy, and it was one of them deals where it was the last day, so I was going to hunt it, but I didn't have high hopes. It was loud.
Right. Hard day to hunt.
Hard day.
Hard day.
And anyways, I got out around this ridge, and I was walking pretty much normal. There's nothing you can do when it gets that crunchy.
Yeah.
And I come around this corner in the ridge, and I look, and there's a doe standing there, broadside, 45 yards. And I'd seen a bunch over the years in that area, and I knew to look. Usually when there's does around there, there's a buck somewhere near it. I mean, that Thanksgiving week, they're searching for anything they can find.
It's kind of like a little tending area, kind of where they get in with a hot doe every year.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've seen quite a few with does.
Yeah.
Well, before I could even turn my head to look behind her, I heard what sounded like a pig.
Every step, yeah?
No, he was standing there.
Oh, he was standing there
he
doing
was
that,
standing right there.
Yeah?
And he was grunting right there.
Yeah.
Best I can figure, he was getting ready to breed that doe.
Oh, yeah.
And I might have interrupted him.
Yeah.
So I pulled my rifle up, and right as he was about to break, I shot. And he ended up running 45 to me. Well, this is where it really gets fun. I had left the 7600 at home because I was mad at it.
Yeah.
Didn't get that buck the other day.
Yeah.
So I had my X-Bolt, my Browning.
Yep. Those are nice.
They're a rotary
Nice.
magazine.
Yeah.
And it was so cold. What had happened was the bottom round actually froze to the floor plate. So I shot. I hit him. I didn't know that. He runs 45 to me to give me a better shot. Well, when I run the bolt, spit the empty out, the next round never pushed up. The back of the round pushed up, but the front of the round never cleared the magazine, so I couldn't close the bolt. So this buck runs right by me.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm like, and now I'm wild again. Every time I go to Maine, it's an adventure.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if I hit this buck or not.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I get the gun cleared, and he stops in a twitch road, kind of brushy, for a half second. I had stuffed another round in there and shot at him. Figure I didn't hit him because all I could see was the back of his neck, but I'm gonna put a hole in him. I mean, when I pulled up to him, all I saw was the big beam, thick. I mean, like 3 inches top to bottom.
Yep.
On that right hand side, and I figured I got to kill this deer.
Yeah. It's a giant.
I got to kill him.
It's a giant. Yeah.
And so he ended up. I missed him. He runs away. I don't see him. So I'm like, okay, slow down. Get my magazine out. Figure out what's going on with this gun. Ready to wrap it around a tree. And I figure out. I mess with it. Pull that bottom round out. And it was all frosty, and like I said, it froze to the bottom. I think, if I remember right, I think I just tossed it in the cup holder of the truck the night before when I got out of the woods, and it stayed there, and it must have had some condensation from me carrying my hand there.
Yep.
And it froze, and I figured that out, and I went, well, I won't do that again. Got it stuffed full again. We're going to sort out what's going on. I started looking up in that twitch road, couldn't find them, any tracks, anything. I mean, it was frozen, but they would have made a track running.
Yeah.
So he said, well, slow down. I backed up, kind of went back to where I was. I shot him and went back over and figured out where they were standing, figured out that I did hit him.
Yeah.
I hit him on the first one. Wasn't bleeding great, but I could see I hit him. So
yeah.
I started going back through and start following him and found where I was looking in Twitch Road. I was like 20 yards too far one way.
Yeah.
Where he was.
Yeah.
Well, the bottom of that Twitch Road was real steep. It goes up above it. And I ended up, so I get looking around, and I look at the top of the hill. And I just see this deer laying there. And your brain don't catch up with your eyes.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, there's a deer. Wait a minute. And he was still alive. He was bedded down. What had happened was when I shot him that first time, I shot him right as he jumped, and I hit him in the liver. So he was hurting. So he's bedded down on the top of that hill. And he's just laying up there, looking at me, looking around pretty lively. Long story short, I shot him again, went up there, and that was he had a real big body, but he was short.
Oh, okay. What did he end up weighing up to?
170.
170.
170.
Yeah. He had a beautiful rack. Do you want to describe a little bit what the rack was like?
So it was 10 points or 9. He had a broken G3 or 4. I don't remember, on one side. On the right-hand side,
yep,
was broken, but his beams were heavy beams.
Yeah, he's an impressive buck.
Like I said, I want to say 2.5 inches, 3 inches from the top to the bottom of the beam. and they were almost the bottom half. They were kind of webbed together,
Like palmated, kind of.
but just on the bottom.
Yep.
They came up separate.
Yeah. You said he scored in the 140s.
Yep, 139 and change.
139. Yep. That's what he netted, though. You said, right? Because you said
No, he grossed
Oh,
139.
he did? Yep.
And then I think he netted 137.
Yeah, that's
But
a
the
beautiful
way the guy that measured it explained it to me, because he could have measured it non-typical or whatever. He
gotcha.
was debating on how to do it, and I don't know what was the right way and what wasn't for mane, antler, and skull. But obviously he didn't count that one that was missing.
Yep.
And the deer was pretty symmetrical. The one on the other side was 5 inches, and I think, and I could be wrong about this, he said they didn't count that side because there wasn't one to match it or something.
Yeah.
So he was, if he had the other side, he would be in mid 140s, even upper 140s.
Yeah.
Because the other side was like 5.5 inches or something like that.
Yep.
But that's the biggest Maine buck I've killed.
Yeah, no, that's a good buck for sure.
And that was just one of them days. Like I said, I walked up 40 yards from that deer in the worst conditions you'd ever imagine. If you told me you were going to walk up on a deer that day, I'd have told you you're full of it. Yeah, there ain't no way. But it was blowing hard, windy. And I ended up walking right up pretty much on top of them.
No kidding. So you should always be going out. That's the moral of the story.
That's the moral of the
Every
story.
day,
Go out.
Keep going. Don't quit. Never give up.
I called
awesome,
back
man.
to the house. They brought out a sled, and everybody else had slept in. They were a little ugly when I come back with that buck because they were sleeping.
Oh, I believe it. They're probably kicking themselves for not being out there. Yeah. Well,
There was
persistence pays off, huh?
There was a lot of deer in that area that year.
There was, yeah. Acorns really just pulling them.
Yeah.
Sucking them from a long ways, yeah.
Yeah. That was a really, really good year
Have you ever tried shed hunting in that area?
I haven't. We don't spend a lot of time up there. It would be a good spot
I
to
bet.
shed hunt. It's,
Is it southern facing?
I believe it is.
Oh, yeah. That'd probably be a wicked spot to pick sheds.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's some good ones.
Oh, I bet.
I ended up finding it when I killed that buck. I was more or less down below that cedar swamp I talked about before, where there is a big signpost.
Yeah.
They were kind of headed that way. I figured that out kind of after. I'd been in that piece a couple times, but I hadn't pieced the whole map in my head together.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but they were right over there
No kidding.
by that.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you want to plug your Instagram for people?
Sure, it's BeardedJohn71 on Instagram.
Sweet. All right, give John a follow. He's got some good stuff on there, some good big buck stories and a lot of gun content and all sorts of good stuff. So
Yeah, a little
thanks,
bit
man.
of everything.
Yeah, thanks.